Hi everyone, welcome to this session about career and community building with Bug Bounties. Bug Bounties are not only a great way to make money, but also a great way to grow your knowledge, get into an infosec career, and make some friends with common interests. I am Vicky Lee, and in this discussion panel, we have InsiderPhd, STOK, and Spaceraccoon to chat about how Bug Bounties have impacted their lives. Welcome to this panel, everyone. Can you all start by introducing yourself? Who are you? What do you do? And how long have you been doing it?
So, hi, my name is Katie, but I'm probably more well known as InsiderPhd. I used to be a full-time PhD student, part-time educational YouTuber, occasional bug bounty hunter is how I usually describe myself. But now I'm a full-time lecturer. So I'm a lecturer in cybersecurity at Manchester Metropolitan University. But actually, what I'm probably way more well known for is my YouTube channel. So I make videos, teach people how to get into bug bounties, really to fill that market. Because I think you get like, here's how to use Burp, here's a tutorial, install this. And then there's nothing then. It's like, well, what do I do next? So that's what I try to do. And my videos are very much mini lectures. I've tricked everybody into actually, attending lectures. Probably because it's not at 9 o'clock in a lecture theatre. And yeah, all of my content is all about getting into bug bounties. I've covered so many different topics, vulnerabilities, recon, as well as like my own personal experiences. So I started hacking in June 2019. I was a mentee at HackerOne live event. I knew nothing about hacking. And my very first time hacking, I found my first bug in like 5 hours. And I have been hooked ever since.
Oh, that's a pretty impressive introduction, Katie.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'll just follow up on that, I guess. So, hi, I'm STOK, but I'm probably also more known as STOK, but my real name is Fredrik Alexandersson, and I'm a content creator, cybersecurity expert, and hacker. I currently work at a company called TrueSec and do bounties as my hobby nowadays. I used to be a bounty hunter for full time for a year. That was a fun experience, but I fell in love with the incident response area of the blue teaming part again and fell madly back into blue teaming. So that's currently what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doug.
Hi, I'm Eugene, and I currently work at GovTech as an associate cybersecurity specialist. So what we do is that we defend and protect citizen data, as well as secure government applications. So you guys might know me as Spaceraccoon, and I do not have my own videos channel, but I do publish a lot of technical write-ups.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eugene. So I guess a question that everyone's really curious about is that how did y'all get into bug bounties? And did you have any infosec experience before you got into bug bounties?
So, like I said, I was a HackerOne mentee. So what happened was I was just chilling in my second year of my PhD. And one of my friends, who I knew from university, who is a bug bounty hunter, was like, "Hey, HackerOne are doing this this mentorship scheme. Here's the link if you want to, sign up. You might get chosen. Come down to London for the day. It'll be really fun." And I was like, "No, thank you. Hacking sounds really hard. That sounds really difficult. What on earth is a HackerOne live event? London is far away." And then they're like, "Oh, but and I know a few people who now are in bug bounty hunting. And they're like, "Oh, everyone's going to be there. You should come chill and hang out. It'll be like a mini reunion." And that sold me because I hadn't seen them in 2 years. So I went down to London. I remember on the train, I was sitting there because I brought one of my colleagues from the university. And I was like, I'm not going to find anything. I know I'm not going to find anything, but let's have fun. Let's have a good time. And then when we were there, I learned what Burp was that first day. I'd never done any security before. Like, I'm talking, never seen Burp, never done any web application security, been a developer since I was about 13. So I've been doing development work for a really long time, but never hacking. So HackerOne live event there for the first time, and I found my first bug. And then I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And I found my second bug. And then at that point, it was coming to the end of the day, me and my mentor, who was helping me write the report, because I didn't know how to write a report, because I'd never done this before. I had no idea what I was doing. Literally shaking, literally sitting there being like, oh my God, I don't know how do I, screaming. Literally most stressful moment of my life, but it was incredible. Like the rush of bug bounties is like finding a bug is just the most amazing experience. So I find it, I'm really excited. I'm just happy. I love the challenge. So I was just happy. And then the person from HackerOne who's helping with the Mentee program comes in and goes, Katie, I've got some good news for you.
So did you have any like related experience before you attended that HackerOne event?
No, my background is as a data scientist. So I know a lot about machine learning, statistics, never any hacking. In fact, I had the opportunity to do infosec at university and I turned it down. I was like, nope, I'm going to do mobile app development instead. But yeah, no experience. And I just found my first bug. A lot of developer experience, though, I should say. My experience is very much the fact that I was a developer for like over 10 years, maybe 12 years, like doing it professionally.
So you sort of understood how applications work.
Yeah, the way I see my experience, I don't think you need to be a programmer to get into bug bounties, but what I kind of think is like I see a page and I can kind of see through it. Like I have X-ray vision and I can understand how all the parts come together because I built that. So for me, I'm like sitting there looking at a page, but actually putting all those pieces together. It's like a puzzle with all white pieces and you slot them all together.
Wow, that's really cool. I really like the term X-ray vision as well. It sounds very accurate as to like how a hacker looks at an application. Okay, what about you, STOK?
I started doing bounties back in 2018. I couldn't, back then I couldn't code for shit, to be honest. I couldn't write the single line of code. But eventually, I've been doing infrastructure and system architecture and blue teaming for a little more over 25 years. So I had vast experience in cloud deployment and how to build this stuff. I just never was a developer, but I did understand frameworks and infrastructure and how to make these things work together. So when I first got introduced to bounties was back in 2018. I traveled to NullCon, Goa, NullCon, together with Franz Rosen and a couple of HackerOne people to attend the first ever live hacking event there. It was really cool to just travel to the other side of the planet. I never really been to India before, but I was mainly there to vlog and create content and interact with people. So when I was sitting in my hotel room, or it actually was Jobert's hotel room, and we were sitting there hacking together with Ted Kramer and Franz Rosen. And he's sitting on his laptop and he's running Burp. And I had no idea what Burp was at that time. So I said, can't you just show me some hacking? Can you do some hacking stuff? Because I was editing. And he said, okay, check this out and I'm going to show you. And he showed me some kind of things, basic stuff, how Burp worked and repeater tabs and such. And I realized, wow, cool. So you can actually change the things that happened between the computer and the server and the way that it comes back again. I want to do this. This is fun. So so that's kind of how it all started for me. I was sitting in that room and I asked them, so what should I do? Where should I begin? How do I start hacking? And they said, pick a bug class. Look at OWASP top 10 and pick one bug class that you stick with. And then you do that bug class until you find a bug. And I figured, why go for the top 10? Because those seem to be very common. So I went a little bit outside and took race conditions. And since I know infrastructure and how things work, it kind of makes sense to me. So I started to look for race conditions everywhere. And it paid off in a month or two. And I earned a couple of $1,000 and I was pretty amazed that you can do this as a side hustle and you're allowed to hack at all these awesome programs and nobody's just going to throw you a straight go to jail card or be mad at you. They were actually really happy that we poked at them. And I'm like, amazing, because my 14-year-old hacker self sitting in my parents' room, playing with computers, had no idea that that's going to happen in the future, that I can just hack stuff and get paid doing so. And I've been doing that kind of ever since, but I didn't have any programming experience, but I'm a pretty fast learner. So I picked up a lot of things along the way and got the possibility to travel to a lot of live hacking events and hang out with pretty amazing people. I was at the same live hacking event as Katie, and it, it changed my life. Bug Bounties changed my life. Period.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, STOK. Yeah, I'm super excited for all the events to become in person again, so that I could actually attend one of those. I'm attending a lot of virtual tech conferences right now, but I just really want to get to meet people in person too.
It's not remotely the same.
Experience.
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead, and Eugene, could you introduce your background?
Yeah, sure. So I took computer science in college, but I did not have any kind of infosec background. And so what happened was that I was back in Singapore. I was doing my military service, and I was trying to stay connected to computer science, right? So there's not a lot of opportunities if you're busy all day. And what happened was that GovTech in Singapore actually released a bug bounty challenge for Singaporeans. And I think they opened it up to others as well. So I thought, okay, sounds interesting. I've never done this before, but I'll try it. So I signed up on HackerOne, and HackerOne sent out an ebook teaching everyone, I think it was called a Web Hacker's Handbook or something. So that was kind of me just rushing, trying to read through it. And on the weekends, I tried the challenge, and I found my first bug, but it was a duplicate. Yeah, but it was a duplicate. So, and I missed it by like 30 minutes or something. So,
no.
but that's how they get you, right? You're like, oh, so close, maybe next time. Right? So that's what got me hooked. And afterwards, I decided, okay, I probably need to do a bit more training. So I went into the Hacker 101 CTF website. I joined the Discord channel, and that's where I got a lot of mentorship, a lot of training, and I think gradually got better at it. And that kind of convinced me that, okay, maybe this is something I want to do. And eventually that led to the position at GovTech as well. So you actually might see this pretty commonly among a lot of people as well, where they start out with bug bounties for a particular program, and they end up working for that company. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What was your first bug, by the way?
I think it was some kind of access control issue. Yeah, access control. And that's something I still stick with a lot. I like access control, business logic kind of thing, where you're a low privilege user, you're not supposed to access another user's resources, something like that. So that's what happened.
I'm actually quite curious what everyone's first bug is. Could you guys like talk about your first bugs a little bit?
Yeah, so my first bug was at one of the HackerOne live events. And I actually found two bugs in the same API endpoint. So I was playing with the API endpoints of Uber was the company. And I realized, hang on, if I remove the cookie, it still works. But that's on my account. I need to be logged in to do that so I can do it while logged out. I didn't realize that was called an IDOR until like way afterwards. Or access control issues. I was just like, look, I could do it while logged out. And the second one was very similar. It was, I was testing that, and I ended up putting a lot of, 99999 in repeater just to play around with that cookie issue, just to keep on generating these because they disappeared essentially. And I realized that, hang on, Burp lets me put in a much larger number than the actual app I was testing allowed me to put in. And I was like, minus 99999. So quite a simple issue. Probably not that big of a deal, apart from it was a payment system. So negative money. So then Uber gives you 9999. Excellent.
Wow.
Though I will admit, I do actually end up competing with Spaceraccoon a lot because I'm the same. I love IDORs and business logic. Like, I think they're very difficult to automate well. And there's so many you can pick up by just like click every button and then go through it very systematically, which is kind of, my brain is systematic but chaotic. I will go for random endpoints and not really have an idea, but I will go through like the same process. So testing things like business logic just ends up being quite natural for the way I hack.
Oh, what about you, STOK?
My first bug was a race condition, and it was quite interesting the way it worked out, because I realized that to get this to work fully, race conditions are fun because it's like, imagine for a second that you're a you're a goalie and you're playing a soccer game and you're standing in this big goal and you're ready to, somebody's kicking a ball at you, and kicking one ball is not really a big problem for you. Ball is being kicked, you pick it up. But what happens if you send 1,000 balls at the same time? It's going to be hard to select which one to choose. And even though you're really, really fast and you're good at it, you might just miss a couple of balls, like they're just going through. And that has to do with bandwidth and latency. The faster you kick the balls, the more probably it's going to enter your goal. Mm-hmm. And I realized that if I had this application that I can send some data into, and if I located where that was really located, and it was in AWS somewhere, and I can spin up a server as close as possible to that data center, even end up in the same data center and sending a lot of requests at a really, really high speed using their almost like internal networking, I could get a lot of requests going into the system, which meant that I could more or less in this application farm money, because it was an endpoint where you would send a request in and you would get a voucher back that was valid for a certain amount of cash. But if I sent in a lot of these, if I sent in 10, maybe you're supposed to only get one in, but you got 4 in. Then I sent in 1,000, and then I sent in 10,000. Then I automated that, so I can just more or less make infinite money filling up my account that I could then use on other e-commerce sites. Mm-hmm. So it was when it comes to making money in race conditions, those are like really, really nice, but it took a bit of infrastructure knowledge to know where to put that box and how to get the speed up to the level where I needed it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I've always found race conditions fascinating, but I've never actually found one in a real life application, So that's
I actually found my first race condition after mm-hmm. STOK helped me at the live event in Vancouver. I'd found like this weird endpoint. It's not very interesting. It didn't end up being quite an interesting bug. But I was like, does anyone know anything about race conditions? They're like, oh, go ask STOK downstairs. So I went and asked him. And then I found my first race condition thanks to his mentorship.
Awesome. Yay. Yeah. So you're kind of like a race condition expert right now, yeah?
Not really, but I like them.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you obviously have a lot of like experience, since that was like the first bug that you focused a lot of your energy on, right? And that's a lot that goes into becoming good in hunting bugs, is this deep knowledge in one domain or one bug or one type of application.
Mm-hmm. And that was before, James Kettle released Turbo Intruder and all these tools that are now available to test race conditions. And so I was lucky enough at another live hacking event in Amsterdam to test out some of the beta versions that it was putting together. And I was so impressed by the speed. And then eventually you got to byte flipping and all that features that you're available to do now. But back in the days, like 2 years ago, that wasn't available, and you had to do it in different ways. But yeah, it's cool. Now it's easier now.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so the next question I have for y'all is that, did bug bounties bring you any kind of special opportunities, or did you get to meet any interesting people through bug bounties?
I have met so many interesting people, like 100%, like so many interesting people. And they're not even necessarily people I've met in real life. I met a lot of people that I just know online, all through bug bounties. But, I got my job because of my YouTube channel. Usually when you do a PhD, you do a few postdocs, and then you go to be what in the UK is called a lecturer, but in other countries is called an assistant professor. So you do a few postdocs, and the annoying thing about postdocs is they're very short contracts, so maybe a year to 3 years, which means you do a couple of these, you end up going all over the country, all over the world, you have to move all the time. It's really, really hard. So I skipped that stage entirely, simply because, I make YouTube videos. They are mini lectures. Like, I've done that part of like planning out a lesson, presenting it, except for I don't have a lecture theatre full of like 100 people. I have thousands of people in my audience. And that's when they like looked at kind of my like application that really stood out for them. And especially when I can bring in that kind of industry knowledge a little bit. Like, I don't work in security the same way other people do. But bug bounties do give me that insight on like, what do you actually need to teach students now that will get them jobs in the future? Because universities lag behind so badly. Like so often at university, you're taught like Java, but then you go out in the world and you do like React, for example. But one thing that I'm really keen on is kind of taking the insights that I've learned through Bug Bounty and actually being like, okay, here are actual vulnerability classes that you should learn if you want to go into like penetration testing. So yeah, it really helped with getting me that job. But mainly, you know, it's just the community is incredible. Like 100%. And like I went to my first live hacking event. I knew 2 people because I went to university with them, and that's it. But like when I was there, everyone was so friendly to me. Like literally, I didn't meet anybody who like put me down. And when I found my first bug and I posted it on Twitter, everybody was congratulating me. Like there were a few people who were salty at the time. But actually the majority of the community were like, congratulations, well done, that's incredible, that's amazing. And I think that kind of level of community support is not necessarily something you get in other communities. Quite often there's like quite a lot of crab in bucket mentality. And you think people who earn like millions of dollars, like people who are basically famous in terms of the bug bounty community, you'd think they would be kind of aloof, kind of secretive, like don't steal my bugs. Actually, some of them are the most friendliest people you'll ever meet. And if you ask them, hey, can you show me how you found that bug? They will sit and show you, and it's amazing and it's incredible. Like it is very much for quite a lot of like the top hunters are very, very nice. Very nice.
I totally agree. And that's how it is. I've been blessed to be able to travel around the world and compete at live hacking events and travel with a certain amount of same people that are extremely professional and meeting them over and over and over again. And it's very, very interesting how kind everyone are and how we are, because we hack together. And we eat together, we chill together, we travel together, and then eventually we compete against each other or in teams. But most of the time, it's just sharing knowledge. And at these live events, there's usually some kind of show and tell. Show and tell is one of those things that is really, really important, where people, since everybody's under the same NDA, we can just share kind of openly what we've been working on and share within the community the things that we learned. And that is, for me, it's priceless. That's where you get the juiciest of the juicy stuff, because those are the things that never can touch a public post. So no, the community is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Eugene?
Yeah, I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, they start hacking on a program and they end up working for it. So I think that was definitely kind of the case for me. It gave me the skills I needed to get to, where I wanted to be in terms of getting my first job and so on. But also, I think in terms of meeting people, it was unimaginable to me that, I start out in like February and, I'm reading about STOK and all kinds of, other people in the community. And in November that year, I would get to meet them in person, and hack with them. So definitely that was kind of, a lot of things that you don't imagine or you don't see yourself being, but it can happen, especially with how open the community is.
Did you attend a few live hacking events as well?
Yeah, so I was actually invited for the July one in Vegas, August one. So, but unfortunately, I was doing my military service, so I couldn't go. But in November, I could go. So that was also a great experience.
That's amazing. Well, I really want to attend one of these live hacking events, HackerOne or BugCrowd or Integrity. Shoot me an invite, please.
Yeah, shoot me more invites as well.
Yeah, I've never been to one. I'm so excited for the pandemic to be over so that I can meet y'all in person. So yeah, what are your future career goals? Does Bug Bounties play into that goal for any of you?
So I want to be an academic because I did a PhD and I spent 3 years of my life doing that and doing research. But what I find in research and academic research is that it never makes it all the way to like people. Like it always ends up kind of stuck in academia. And one thing I've kind of got from Bug Bounty is Bug Bounty hunters are actually really willing to engage in research. If you look at kind of HTTP request smuggling, which is really a piece of quite academic research, people read that paper, like they read about it, they want to look at that bug. So what I really want to do is look at ways I can use my background in things like machine learning and produce research that, one, doesn't get lost in academia, and two, doesn't get lost in like NDAs. So I can make research that benefits the community. And the other thing is that I want to teach people like actual exploitation techniques. Like I want to show them, hey, here's how you hack. And I know because these are bugs that I found and I've hacked real companies. Like I know these are there. Like I'm not teaching you SQL injections, which are, you know, quite rare to find. I'm teaching you the bugs that actually get found all the time. So that's kind of where I want to go. I love bug bounty hunting as well. Like I genuinely, like I enjoy it so much. I really like making content. So one thing I'm really glad is that my job kind of lets me do that. It lets me just do the bug bounty, let me look at the research, lets me like publish stuff, and it lets me like continue making content, continue making videos. So for me, like my future ambitions to be like a professor, which in the UK is a bit different than in like the US. In the US, you're a professor as soon as you are an assistant professor. In the UK, a professor is somebody who's very old, usually like somebody who is very distinguished and very good at research and brought in millions of pounds. But that's kind of where I want to go. Like I want to be that academic, but not one that sits in their office all day, ones that talk to people and that engages and that like actually does stuff that matters to more than just academia.
Yeah, for sure. I know that you also teach at your university. Would you be doing like a bug bounty course anytime soon?
I did actually. I teach cybersecurity at Manchester Metropolitan University, and my course that I've just done, which was Introduction to Computer Forensics and Security Fundamentals, I actually had like an entire week on like web application security. And I was like, so here's how you do bug bounties, and here's how you get started on the Hacker 101 CTF if you want to do this. But yeah, I like next year I'm going to ramp that up. I want to talk about web application security because I think it's one of the most successful parts of security. Especially because I can get in people like STOK or Spaceraccoon who actually like do bug bounty hunting and say, hey, will you come to talk to my students? I'm very fortunate that I have that network of people that are very nice and will do things like that for me. But yeah, that's totally what I want to do. Maybe not turn them into bug bounty hunters, but like at least teach them like web application security techniques that they're going to use like day to day if they want to go into security.
Yeah, you know what would be really cool as well? If you could have like guest lecturers with famous hackers like Stug and Eugene, you just have them talk to your students, you know, fly them to the UK and have like a live hacking class there. That would be super cool. Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Stug?
Well, I'm definitely going to start or continue doing bounties. Yeah, I have this YouTube show called Bounty Thursdays that I publish like twice a month, where I cover news and tools and certain things that are around the bug bounty space. And I'm going to continue doing that at least for another year. But since I'm transitioning more into another role that requires a lot more of my attention and time in incident response and red teaming and active defense and threat intelligence, bounties, even though I love them, is not something that I'm going to be able to do at that extent that I did before. So I'm doing it primarily as a hobby. I have a couple of programs that I've been doing for a while and that I've fallen in love with, so to say. I know those, I wouldn't say inside and out, but I have an idea what goes on those targets. So I'm going to do those on my spare time, like instead of, you know, when my wife watches some kind of TV series, I'm always like sneaking up with the laptop next to her and just running some poking around or checking my automation and that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely going to keep on hunting. Bug Bounties has fueled so many awesome tools and so much cool research that are just primarily created out of the bug bounty space. And that is definitely something I want to follow. So I'm definitely going to be active. If ever live hacking events comes back again, that would be another situation for me to focus more on that if that comes back. But right now, since that out of the picture, I don't really have the time that I want to have to invest in bounties.
Occasional bug bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Do you find that your bug bounty work inform your day job in security?
To who?
If it
Everybody?
helps.
Oh, well, maybe I can join in that, or
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm pretty similar to STOK as well, because like you know, now it's kind of more of a hobby. Before I started my job, I definitely went hard. My goal was to like get into the top 100 all time on HackerOne. Before I started my job, I got in, and then now I'm kind of like, okay, time to, you know, do my job, right? So I think a lot of it is that it does teach me kind of the more cutting edge techniques. It gets me plugged into the latest research. It keeps me plugged into the community, which is also very important. And I think it keeps me sharp, right? Because sometimes, you know, you're not always doing pen testing or application penetration testing on your job, but because you do it, you know, on your weekends and so on, it keeps you sharp, it keeps you connected, and it keeps you, you know, always thinking about how can you push yourself instead of just kind of sitting back and relying on just your day-to-day.
Can you tell us more about like what your day job is consisted of and how bug bounty, you know, somehow plays into that as well?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, a lot of it is like pen testing, you know, citizen-facing apps, you know, or government apps of data. So I think a lot of in that sense, the pen testing portion of things is, I think, pretty relevant to bug bounty, because bug bounty is very much application security, application pen testing. Yeah, and I guess kind of like leading into the next question, where it's like advice, you know, one thing I've kind of learned on the job as well is kind of to also go beyond what bug bounty teaches.
Eugene, I think you are muted right now.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, you know, I think one thing I would kind of give advice to is also just to go beyond what bug bounty teaches you, beyond pen testing into like red teaming, malware reverse engineering, blue teaming, as STOK is doing, because there's such a wide view out there. And so get what you need to learn from bug bounty, but also kind of keep an eye out for what's out there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Katie and Stark, do you guys have any advice for anyone who's getting into bug bounties or are looking at a career in infosec?
So the first thing is that bug bounties are not a get-rich-quick scheme. A lot of people advertise it that way. It's not. But what bug bounties are really good at is getting experience. And it can be really hard to get things like internships and summer internships, or like we do in the UK, we have like placements which are year-long. They can take up a lot of time. It can be really hard. They can be really competitive. One advantage of the bug bounty is it gives you real experience on like a real target, and you kind of, from just reporting, you kind of understand their process as well. And actually, a lot of bug bounty hunters don't do bug bounty full time. A lot of us have full time or sometimes part-time jobs. Quite a lot of people work in bug bounty adjacent jobs, like whether that is things like managing programs or doing triage work, or sometimes things that really aren't really related, like what we all do, because we don't necessarily work in bug bounties. We all work in like these slightly adjacent, but we use that experience. So bug bounty is not all about money. And if you make it that way, it will be really hard to motivate yourself. You have to be there for like the challenge, the experience, the like mastery of the skill of security to actually keep you going. Because if you find a duplicate bug and you don't get paid for it, if your motivation is just money, it's really hard to keep going. If your motivation is like challenge and pushing yourself, like Spaceraccoon said, you know, oh, I didn't find it yet, I could be faster. And if I'm faster next time, then I'll get it. And it's not necessarily about I'll be the first to get money, but instead the challenge of finding a bug like even faster, even before anybody else. So it's not all about money. And if you make about money, it'll be really hard. And actually, a lot of us have full-time or part-time jobs, but we still use that bug bounty experience. A lot of people hack on the weekends, hack very casually. You know, I get a private invite in like HackerOne. I'm like, that seems interesting. Spend a few hours, find a bug, write it up in a report. It's far more casual for quite a lot of us than I think people think. And a lot of us aren't making millions. A lot of us are getting like nice money, like for sure, very nice money. But we are not millionaires. We're really not millionaires, and it's not an ATM that says free money. It is, but it is fun. It is so fun. It's so challenging. It's so rewarding when you find something, not because you get paid, but because, let me tell you, I've never done drugs, but the rush of finding a bug, I can only assume is equivalent, because I've never felt like that on anything else. Like the rush is incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And yeah, go ahead, Stark.
I would say that my wife just told me that in the beginning, you know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like kind of half asleep, but I'm sliding over and touching up my phone and refreshing it to see if maybe the triager replied, because I said the bug in earlier, and we coined it to call it like bounty fever, because if you have something at play that it could be a critical or a P1, depending on what kind of platform you're sitting into. If that's a valid bug, it could mean $10,000, and $10,000 isn't pocket money. It's fun money, but you have a possibility. And also, like Katie said, it's not all about the money, but for me personally, money is the driver. I don't do VDPs. I don't do any free kind of hacking things. I don't work for free. I work on programs that pay well, that are fast and responsive, and that care about their hackers. The rest of them, I don't touch. So I'm very loyal to the ones that I think are actually making an impact. It differs from person to person, but in the beginning when I started to do bounties and I realized how important it was for me, I actually took a pay cut from my company that I worked for, because I realized I couldn't work full-time and do bounties at night because I was so tired. So I took a pay cut on one day and said, okay, could I have Thursdays off to do whatever I want to do? And so I only worked 80%. And that day I did full-time bounties, and within, I don't know, 7 months, I made almost twice as much money as I did as my full-time job doing that. So it's a possibility for people to make a lot of money, and there's a possibility for people to be extremely successful in it, but you need to commit. You need to be persistent. You need to understand. I had over 45,000 hours as a build consultant and 25 years of computer IT professional experience when I started. I wasn't just randomly into computers one day. I've been eating, living, breathing computers and troubleshooting and finding anomalies for the most part of my life. I just never hacked web. And I've been doing professional pen testing and all that stuff, but I never did it on, you know, hardened targets like bug bounties. Bug bounties is so cool because it's like running with weights. Once you've been doing that really hard training, everything is blind, everything is black box. There's no responses coming back, and you trained yourself on that level. Then you'll start to do pen testing as recreational stuff because it's easy. It's untested grounds. There's responses coming back. There's stack traces everywhere and all that fun stuff that you never see in bounties. So it's very, very high training grounds for anyone that's interested in it, but it's not easy. But if you have any interest in it, it's extremely fun and it can be extremely rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to the time management that you were talking about, Stark, I'm curious how everyone in this panel finds the time to do everything you do, like a full-time job, teaching at a university, and bug bounties. How do you balance it all?
So I work 9 to 5 at the university, as in like that primarily involves things like research. My research is very close to web application security. So I end up actually being able to use that time to learn more about bug bounties that I wouldn't normally like experience, because yeah, I'm reading Twitter, but it's for work purposes, definitely for work. Yeah, I'm just reading, like, I'm just watching STOK's videos. It's for work, of course. Yeah, but it is legitimately for work because I do research. So the way I kind of manage my time, and like a lot of people ask me about this, is that I have to stay really organized because I have so much going on. Like I produce a video every week. I do a lot of talks. I then have hacking on top of that. And then I have my full-time job. So quite a lot of, and I also knit, by the way. That's like my other hobby. So I have really strict time management. Like I use things like time blocking. So I set up my calendar and say, okay, for the next 3 hours, I'm going to hack. And that is it. It is on the calendar. I will do that. I have like a million to-do lists. I use something called OmniFocus, which is based on a book called Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, which is all about how to make effective to-do lists. And that keeps you like not sitting around kind of idling. It's like you always know what's coming next on all of your tasks. And especially if you're like me, and as a lecturer, I do quite a lot because I have to manage courses, I do my own research, I have contribute to other people's research, I have papers that need to be written, I've got like a bunch of different projects happening at once, so it's really important for me to keep on top of them. Not to mention making videos, which then I'm sure as any video creator knows, it is not just sit down, record a video, done, upload it to YouTube, sorted. There's quite a lot that goes into the pre-production phase and the post-production and the editing, and then there's SEO to get that working. So I end up having this quite strict time schedule of, okay, it is like a Wednesday afternoon, I am going to write this lecture, then I'm going to make this video, then I'm going to have some dinner, then I'm going to sit on the couch and knit for a bit. And even my knitting ends up being scheduled on the calendar. And that way no one can book that time as well. So I think in terms of managing all of that, you got to have good time management, especially if you have like a full-time job, and you need to schedule in breaks. Breaks are very important to schedule. You cannot work all the time. And if you do work all of the time, you will make yourself ill. You can literally get diseases from being too stressed. So what's really important is to get all of the stress out of your brain and onto a sheet of paper. So everything you need to do, everything you need to remember. I have like a little book that sits on my table that is like my stress book. Everything in there stresses me out, but it's there. I don't need to worry about forgetting it. Then on top of that, it's like, okay, what goes into what are tasks that need to be completed? Then it's like, I schedule time for planning as well. Then it's like, what did I do today? What am I doing? And then it's taking breaks, like sitting there and going, okay, from this time to this time, I am walking away from the computer and doing literally anything else that's not at the computer, and taking that time. And actually, that's when you get the best hacking ideas. I've had hacking ideas where I've just sat away from the computer for a bit and I find the bug in my brain, because like, how do I do that? How would I do, what kind of exploit would I use? And it comes to me when I'm away from the computer.
I call it the shower moments.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just gonna mention that actually. All the different like recon that I do sort of just like come together in the shower, and you just have so many ideas for how to actually attack the application.
Smeagol calls showers liquid sleep. And that is something he coined that during live hacking events. I'm gonna go get some liquid sleep, and we all of us like, yeah, I'll do the same when you get back at hacking again. So
that's what it is.
One of those terms. That's what it is. And I agree with Katie. I have mad respect for people that do that kind of planning and calendars and all that stuff. I'm not never typical. I can't do that at all. It doesn't work for me at all. If I would schedule my day, I would vomit, feel locked in, and I wouldn't enjoy it at all. So I use flag off a day hacking. Then if I hack that day, I hack that day. It doesn't mean what time I do it. It's just some way along that day, it's going to spark, because usually it takes me a while to get into the mood. That's why I got a space like this, because this is a creative workspace. When I go here, I know I'm going to put myself in a certain kind of mood. It's a creative mood, or maybe no, I'm just going to change the lights around or doing something else to get into that mood and experience that I want to be in. And then magic just happens. I show up, I'm prepared to do the work, and then I'm just going to let the muse and the work happen, and I start to do things. But I can't do that on a schedule. If that wasn't a schedule, nothing. I would be feeling locked in and not be able to do the kind of creative stuff that I do. So mad respect, Katie, mad respect. Yeah. My life is organized around weird Post-it notes that I have everywhere, because if I write something down on it, and I'm putting it away, I forget it, out of sight, out of mind, and I have no idea what's going on. Different people.
Oh yeah. this is what, so I, oops.
Oh, what happened?
This is what my day looks like. Literally, like this is how I plan my weeks look like this.
That's a lot, Katie. Now we know how you get it all done. Oh,
Yeah,
by the way, for you guys, like how long does it take you to produce a video from start to finish?
It completely depends. Yeah.
Okay.
Like for me, I can like get out a video on a topic I know really well in 4 hours, because it takes. So for me, this is going to be completely different for other creators, but for me, the thing that takes the longest is the research. So it's the research and preparing the slides. Now you might think slideshows seem kind of easy, but actually there's quite a lot in like designing the slides and making sure they are like branded appropriately and making sure that the information is correct and that I'm explaining it in the best way. And I will sit there and micro adjust things like the order or the explanations, be like, actually, I think it would be better if I put a slide there, testing the flow. And that takes me about 4 hours if I know a topic well. But I end up doing research like on a bunch of topics all the time, just like sitting at the computer. So I end up keeping a lot in my brain. So it doesn't end up being that bad. And I'm very well organized because I have to be, because otherwise nothing would get done. But yeah, about 4 hours for a video. But then if it's something that's a big video, like my GraphQL video took me quite a bit longer, especially because it also needed a demo. So then I had to program a demo. Thankfully, my background is programming. So actually getting things like demos for vulnerabilities is actually fairly straightforward. So I'm like, yes, bad code I've already written before. Excellent. Yes, I'll just turn off the CSRF protections on literally every page. That's fine. And yeah, so it completely depends. And then actually recording it, I have to like sit down and do it properly and make sure, you know, the room's quiet, and make sure things like, I don't really record with a background, but I'm trying to, which is why I've got quite a plain background behind me, apart from my hamster photo. But yeah, it's quite like getting a quiet area and actually getting in the mood sounds really bad. But getting that kind of mindset of, okay, it's time to record something, kind of like hacking actually.
Yeah, for sure. Is that your actual hamster?
Yes. So that is Knossos, my hamster. We actually had 3 hamsters and we all have photos of them on the wall. We are those kind of people who have photos of their pets on the wall. But yeah, that is my hamster Knossos, and we've got Face DOS and Button. If anybody knows why they're called that, I will send you stickers. DM me or send me like a tweet, and I will send you stickers if you can tell me what the link is between those 2 names.
Cool. I'll definitely figure that out. I want some stickers.
Yeah.
I want some InsiderPhd stickers.
No, actually, I want one of those magic socks that makes you find bugs.
I'm wearing some lucky socks right now. I'm not even joking. Like,
really?
I was going to do some hacking this evening, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put on some lucky socks for the day.
Nice.
So yeah, I am actually wearing lucky socks right now.
Good luck. I hope you find a bug using those socks. Yeah.
And to get back on your question where you asked how much time it takes, like Katie, you know, maybe it takes 4 hours, but let's say a video like the one that I did with Tom Nom Nom, where we recorded the JavaScript for hackers, right? It's a pretty simple video. It's about 25 minutes or so, but we recorded for about 1.5 to 2 hours doing that. And I set it up in the hotel room where we were in San Francisco at that time. And the editing is about 40 hours after that in post-production, because it's a multi-camera screen recording and then just boiling things down like to get that storyline. For me, all the storytelling is within the editing. I never write any scripts. I don't do any of those. I do everything in post, and I create it all inside editing. Research I do before, but things like Bounty Thursdays, I spend about like every week or so. I'm always active on Twitter and looking at what's happening, bookmarking stuff, taking notes and preparing myself. And then when production day is, I I record and then I edit and I SEO and do all that within one day now. I have that workflow down. Everything is just prepared. Turn lights on, test things, record and audio is all set, just ready to record. But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. I had to change, batteries in my cameras, and I had to change, audio and record different stuff. And it was more like a tedious work in the beginning. Now I have that pretty much dialed down, but it comes at a cost. It costs a lot of money to get a 4K workflow. So I'm spoiled to be able to do that and have a studio like this where I can go and just record and I can control the lights. It's full light outside, but I just have blinders down now. So this is the kind of different feeling that you will get. So yeah.
That's really cool. What about you, Eugene? How do you manage your time between your full-time job and Bug Bounties, as well as writing all your write-ups?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one is always just priorities, right? So, first comes your family, your.
Oh, you're muted again.
Okay, wow, that's annoying. Okay. Yeah, so it's just about priorities, right? So it's, your loved ones first, and then your job, or whatever's second most important to you, and the rest follows. So I think what was helpful for me was that, before starting my job, I was like, I set a goal for myself. I wanted to be, the top 100 globally all time, and then got into it, and I was like, okay, I can step back now. So now I kind of stepped back from bounties a bit, but I think what's helpful is that you kind of have also kind of a cycle, like a periodical thing. So for me, that might be events, because events are every couple of months, either at a special private program that I'm interested in, that I think I could learn something from, take away something from, instead of just treating it as, oh, I'm in it because I need to keep getting more bounties or bugs. So I think that's what really helped, having a priorities and also kind of pacing myself in terms of committing myself to bug bounties. And with write-ups, I love writing, so I can do it in the evening. So it's not that hard for me, but it comes with my participation in events as well, where I find an interesting bug and I want to write it up. So that also comes with the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think writing about a bug helps me learn just so much more deeply about that field, because you need to learn how to explain the different aspects of that vulnerability to a person who doesn't have your experience actually finding that bug.
Oh, I had an experience one time when I was making a video, and I realized as I was making the video, I'd found a bug and I'd completely missed it. And I was like, because I was making this video and explaining these concepts, and I was like, oh no, I should have reported that. And then the program was closed, so I couldn't even report it.
Oh, it was closed?
Yeah, it had just stopped accepting submissions. So I completely missed the bug, but then I found it when I was working on a video.
Did you end up reporting it, even though, you could still disclose it to the program, right?
At that time, it was when I just started out. So I knew the program had closed because I remember getting an email about it, but I just couldn't remember the name of the program and stuff. You get a lot, Bug Bounties is very overwhelming if you're not really sure, because there's a lot of concepts there you need to learn. But yeah, I didn't remember what the program was, and I was like, well, somebody else has probably found it, so it's probably fine.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah, another thing I really like to do is that I like to read other people's write-ups and just try them on new programs. And very often I find that, the same techniques work for different programs as well.
Definitely.
Okay, so our next question is sent to me by on Twitter by someone else. So they're curious to know, how do you go about transitioning from one field in cybersecurity to another? For instance, red team to blue team, or IR to bug bounties?
I think that's a question for STOK.
Yeah, I think
I'll see if I can answer that one.
Okay.
It depends on. I mean, to be a very good incident response person, you kind of need to understand offensive work, because you are doing offensive work but blindly in reverse. You need to pick up all the breadcrumbs that's been put there by an attacker. You need to figure out what they did. So you need to understand how they put the stuff there in the beginning. And being an analyst that looks at, let's say, EDR data or something when there's a breach, you need to have a bigger understanding of both infrastructure and understanding of how the threat actor works and all that. So it all kind of binds together. So if you would go for incident response to red teaming, I don't think that would be too hard. You just have to practice up on the latest techniques, because you would see so many of those techniques being used on those targets that it would be kind of natural for you to just fuse in that, because red teaming in the end is training the blue team. That's the whole concept. So using already known techniques would be a thing. But if you want to change your field, I would say look for companies that are interesting in, look for companies, like don't choose the company, choose your boss kind of thing. Find somebody that you think is able to learn your stuff and you think that you will be able to work good with, and or if the company has the values that you want, and just approach them. Most companies don't put up a sign, we are hiring, but everybody's hiring at the moment. If you're in this field and you want to make a change, approach people, tell them what you do and what you're interested in, but also sell them your story. Where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to do? Sell them your passion, because everybody loves anyone with passion. They want people on your team that's going to be dedicated and grow with it, with the role. Because to be honest, I don't really care what kind of certifications you got. I don't really care about how many years you spend in the university. If you can show me proof that you're interested in this field, let's say you have been doing bounties, and you can say, well, here's my HackerOne profile, here's my BugCrowd profile. These are the kind of bugs that I found. I'm very, very interested in working for your company. Can you take me on as an intern? A lot of people start that way, starting with bounties and then leveling forward. Just like Eugene said, it happens all the time. So I would say, if you want to transition, do your research on that company, do your research on that subject, and just approach them. Tell them about your vision and what you want to become, and watch things unravel.
I actually have something to add to that. My PhD supervisor, I had a choice between 2 PhDs because I got accepted to both. My PhD supervisor had a podcast, and I remember going to go see the university for the first time. And on the train there, I was listening to the podcast, and I was like, okay, these are people who are interesting, who aren't just like very narrow-minded. They're people who like not just know a lot about like the academic side, but are like talking and being really engaging. I was like, I want to work with these people because these 2 people are really interesting, and that's who I want to be my boss.
Yeah, for sure. Any additional job search advice for people?
I would say networking is the best way to get a job. 100%. Like, talk to people. It sounds really obvious. And a lot of people are kind of shy, and most people do not care if you interrupt them and you say hi. They don't care if you send them a LinkedIn message. If they literally don't care and don't want to talk to you, they'll just ignore it. If you just want to send a message out saying, hey, I'm X, like I get a lot of LinkedIn requests and nobody says anything about who they are. If you send me a message that says, hi, Katie, I'm X, I want to do Y, I'd love to connect, I like see those and immediately they stick in my brain. And it's the same for like hiring managers as well. If you're like engaging, if you're talking to them, if you're building rapport, if you go to local, like I know right now it's kind of difficult, but local meetups are great ways to meet employers. And like doing stuff, especially if you're a student. If you're a student, there are so many things you can do. Like outside of like hacking, there's also hackathons, programming challenges, and they run worldwide. They're really great to get and meet employers. Going to any local tech meetups, any talks, they're really good. In the UK, we have the British Computing Society. So that's like our professional body for computing. That's really good to get involved in. Like there are so many like meetups and community groups, and OWASP as well. Of course, OWASP, I forgot completely. Have these meetups, and if you talk to people there, you will meet employers naturally. And if you are polite, nice, seem really interested. Most employers are quite happy to sit and talk to you. And then when you go to an interview, you're not having an interview with somebody you've never met before. You're having an interview with somebody you know. I had an interview panel. I knew 2 people on the interview panel. It was far easier for me to demonstrate those skills because I felt comfortable with those people already. To be like, well, you know me already. Like we've talked or we've worked together, or we used to do organized stuff together. So that really helped me as like meet people, talk to people, like even if they're also beginners as well, because you'll be surprised at the kind of groups people end up forming. Like, you know, if you think about like big hacking groups, for example, like the teams we sort of saw with Disturbance, for example, they come about because people talk to one another and didn't have insular, no, I only care about me and my problems. It's like, talk to people, be active, be engaging. Like if you have to read How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you're really not that confident with like networking and stuff, but fundamentally, right, fake it till you make it with people. Like just pretend you're really confident and literally nobody can tell the difference.
That's a great tip, Katie. Thank you. Okay, so this is the last question I have for you guys. What are some of your favorite resources for learning about hacking or bug bounties or security in general that you want to recommend to others?
My number one advice is it's like learning a language. So you want to like immerse yourself, like follow people on Twitter, follow topics on Twitter, follow interesting people on Twitter, read articles, you know, watch Bounty Thursdays, watch my videos. Please do go watch my videos. Watch, of course, NahamSec streams. All of that is like great ways. I'd say you just don't want to start with like, I'm going to read this book and this book is going to tell me everything. Because 1, books are out of date, and 2, it's not going to tell you everything. You have to kind of be absorbing information and like force yourself into it by making the content you consume the stuff you're interested in. Like try and avoid doing something like, oh, I'm going to relax and read Reddit. Instead, I'm going to relax and read some articles, or I'm going to read a write-up. You don't even have to take notes or take it like super, you know, note-taking, ready at the ready, going to read this really in depth. Even just like casually reading stuff is so important. And even if it's beyond your level, it's really important. Like the same as learning a language, immersion, that is the best way.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Oh, sorry, Stoke. Sorry, you saying?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would say practical experience is one of the most important things, you know, just in terms of immersion. And when it comes to, you know, cybersecurity knowledge, I don't think you need to pay your way in. And in fact, I don't think you can pay your way 100%. In, right? You know, you can't just buy like you know, a book or something and expect it to do it for you. You have to read the book and then you have to practice it. And there's so many free resources out there nowadays. You can do the Potswigger Web Academy, and those are fantastic. And I would say that if you're able to do all of the labs, you know, or, you know, you just kind of stumble your way through and learn your way, finish them, don't take the hints or don't see the answers, I think you'll be able to find your bugs very easily after that. Same with like the Hacker 101 CTFs and so on. So I'll definitely recommend getting some of these free labs, free practices out there. Do them and do them seriously.
I 100% agree with free sources as well.
TryHackMe has this new, it's not new, but it's since June, I think, this OWASP top 10 free labs as well that you can do. And it's a really good addition to the other ones. And if for only like $10, you can get a premium and do the, you know, the web essentials over at TryHackMe. And you know, that's really, really, really good training. If you've done that in the Potswigger Academy, watched a couple of videos and subscribing to a lot of people on Twitter, you're kind of golden. That's, you know, watch all the talks that Jason Haddix ever made. And then after that, just go at it. It's not really that hard. You just need to dedicate yourself to get started and pick one bug class at a time. If you want to do just one, after you learn all the essentials, select one of those bug classes that makes your heart swirl. Like my second bug class that I ever went for, and I still love madly to this day, all the time, is XXEs. I love those, and the blinder, the better. and that's something that I love to do and poke at and figure out and bypass, because I've been doing it so much now that it feels very intuitive for me. I mean, file descriptor is the lord of all XXSs, right? And secret bypasses and cool stuff. So people find their niches, and that's what's amazing with bug bounties, is that you don't need to be a generalist. You don't have to be a pen tester that checks all the boxes to make all the coverage and all the compliance. You can choose one thing that you're getting really, really good at, and then scale up by shooting that at as many, many domains as possible and learning as you go. That's my takeaway.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. All right, thank you everyone for joining me today. I learned so much. That was super insightful. Yeah, that was very interesting talk. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Sirk. Thank you, Eugene. And have a good day or night or afternoon, wherever you are.
See ya. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.